Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you all how to make this pot of gold with a rainbow. So this was involved doing some modifications from other patterns that I had seen. And so as we go about the tutorial, I will be referencing you to specific parts of a pattern by the original creator, but then also telling you, where I had made my modifications in this tutorial. So all the patterns for the two things are linked down below. So I have the pattern for if you want to do the pattern for the rainbow pillow, which is what I referenced it off of for this rainbow. And then the pot of gold was from a cauldron pattern. So if any of those are interesting to you just as patterns, they're linked down below. But I will be referencing portions of specifically the cauldron, or you'll have to actually look at the pattern to do portions of this tutorial, just because that is where I got mine from and I want to give it where credit is due. So we are going to get into the materials you'll need to make this pot of gold. I will have down in the description affiliated links for majority of these materials that you will need to use to make this project. So affiliated means that I will make a small commission if you purchase the item that I have through that link. It helps me on my channel and it helps support me and to be able to provide the supplies that I need for my content and for my videos. If you're in the position to do so, please consider purchasing something from that list. It really helps me and it supports me. So if you're wanting to do that and you're in the place to do so, it is great and I appreciate it very much. To start off, you are going to need two different crochet hook sizes. So you're going to need a G hook or a 4.25 millimeter hook. And then you'll also need an I hook. I don't specifically have on this hook. Let me see what the actual size is. So if you're needing the actual size for an I hook, it is a 5.25 millimeter hook or an I. So you'll need those two different sizes for different portions of this tutorial. You'll also need a pair of scissors to help snip, because you'll be doing lots of snipping, especially for the rainbow. And for your yarn, I'm using acrylic 4-weight yarn, so you'll need some black. I'm pretty sure this is about as much as you'll need just for your cauldron. So this will be plenty. And then for your rainbow, it's really up to you. I'm going to be going with traditional rainbow colors, and I'm all using acrylic yarn again. So I've got red here from Red Heart. I'm also going to be using some orange. I've got this green here. Red Heart as well. And some yellow. Oh, tangled up here on my colors. Some yellow. And then the other one I used a light blue, but I'm going to be using kind of a darker, but still kind of light blue. And then I'm using a lighter purple than what I showed in the example. That one had a dark purple, so I'm going to do a lighter purple. So we'll see how that turns out. You'll also need some stuffing, way more than this, just to stuff your pot of gold. You'll also need some sewing needles. So these are specifically designed for yarn. And since I'm using acrylic, I just need to use a smaller one. I have a bigger option here, but that's usually for thicker yarn. But you'll definitely need one of these to help sew a lot of your ends in. You also need a stitch marker. I don't have stitch markers. I just usually use my little snippets from yarn ends that I have. So I usually try to use one of a different color than what I'll be using. So since you won't need this until you get to the round portion, so doing the crochet pot, so I would suggest using anything but black or yellow, just so that it stands out. All right, to start off, we are going to be making the rainbow portion of the pot of gold. So you're going to want to get your G hook, and you're going to want to grab your purple color or whatever color you want to be at the center of your rainbow. And by the center, I mean this portion right here. So that I'm going to refer to as the center portion of our rainbow. So I'm using purple, so you want to grab whatever color that is going to be. And you're going to want to make a slip knot. If you don't know how to do a slip knot, please refer to my tutorial video that I have on how to do a slip knot and how to do chaining and all those beginner things. I have a playlist that is Crochet for Beginners. I'll have it linked down below. So you're going to want to chain 14. All right, once you have your 14 chains, make sure to count that you do have 14. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So we don't count this one on our hook, that doesn't count. We've got our first chain, and this one is our second chain. So we'll single crochet in that second chain, and you'll single crochet in the next one. Now in this next one, you're going to increase. So you'll do one single crochet, and now you'll do your second one in that same stitch. Then you're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So single crochet in this one, then single crochet in the next one. Okay, now we're going to hit our little repeat here. So you're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Now you're going to increase in that next one. Now you're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Alright, this is our repeat, so you're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So then you're going to now do single crochet in the next 2. You should have 1 left. You're going to increase in that last one. So I know that was quite the chaotic thing there. But at the end, you should count all your stitches. You should be at 16. Now, you're going to want to switch colors. So we're only going to be doing 1 row for each color. So at the end, this is where you'll attach your color, the next color you plan on doing. And you'll want to leave decent sized tails because we're going to have to attach this to our pot of gold. So the next color I'm going to be using is going to be blue. So you'll have to figure out what your next color from the center is going to be, and mine's this blue color. So the way I like to attach at the end of a row like this is I like to drape where my short tail's right there, drape it over, kind of hold it, and then pull it through. Tighten that one. And then I start working with this one. And once I've been working with my new color for a little bit, then I'll snip this one just because I want to make sure that that's secured. So you'll chain 1 and turn. Now for this round, there will be a repeat. So the repeat is you will increase in the first stitch, and then you'll single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And that's your repeat. So we'll increase in the next stitch. And single crochet in the next 3. You'll repeat that all the way to the end. And I'll meet you guys when I finish mine. All right, I just finished doing that entire row. So you should have a stitch count of 20 stitches. And so now this is kind of a good time if you haven't. I didn't, because I was crocheting away, but now's a good time. That first color, you can probably clip that. So I'm gonna let it kind of go as long as my tail's here, just because you want to be able to have something to kind of sew in. So I mean, this is probably maybe almost 3 inches that I have right here. I don't think you need anything way more than that, because you will have all your other colors as well to weave in. So it's just extra secure to have all those different ones. All right, now we're going to attach our next color. And in my case, it's going to be my green. So whatever is your next color up. Get my green going. So we're gonna, I ended up attaching that. I wasn't supposed to. It's like right when you're getting to your last single crochet here, don't go all the way through so that you can attach your color change. I forgot to mention that, because it just makes it easier to just kind of slip it through with your colors. You're welcome to try doing it after, but I feel like it might make it kind of bulge. But we're going to be sewing that part down anyway, but I find it's easier when you do your color changes that way. So we're going to chain 1 and turn. This is going to start feeling familiar as we do each color. So we're going to do another repeat again. So you're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches. So we did our first one. That's our second one. Third and our fourth. Now you're going to increase in that next one. So the repeat is 4 single crochet and then increase. So I just did that, and then my increase. So you'll just keep single crocheting 4 and then increase. Do that all the way to the end, and I'll meet you guys when I'm done with mine. All right, I just got finished doing that row. You should end on an increase, and you should have a stitch count of 24. And again, this is a great time to be doing your snipping with your ends here. You don't need them to be super long, like I said, about 3 inches. We're done with that blue, so we don't have to worry about it. We'll keep the green until I finish the next one. I just like to do that because then I don't have to worry about it coming undone while I'm working on my round. I feel like it's more secure that way. So again, I finished this one. I wasn't supposed to do my color change, because it's just, this is just your single crochet right before you yarn it over. But I find it much more neat to do it right into the stitch like that. All right, so my next color is going to be yellow. So whatever your color is going to be, you're going to want to grab that color. All right, and we'll attach it just like we've been doing. Pull everything nice and snug. All right, for this row, we are going to chain 1 and turn. And then we got another repeat, so we're going to single crochet in the next 5. So second one, third, fourth, and fifth. And you'll increase. That's your repeat. So single crochet and 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you'll increase. So you just keep repeating that to the end, and then I'll meet you guys at the end. All right, I just finished doing my yellow. So for the end of this round, you should have a stitch count of 28. And you will end on an increase. I didn't finish mine this time, I remembered, so that when I attach my next color, I'm ready. So we're going to snip our green. So I'm just going to make it just a little bit longer so I can do my tail here. So about 3 inches, maybe a little more, doesn't hurt to go just a little above. All right, so now I'm going to need my orange. That's my next color. You want to attach it. Pull everything nice and snug so it doesn't move. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. You're going to do a repeat again. So you're going to do your 6 single crochet into each of those stitches across here. 3, 4, 5, and 6. You got your increase. And then you'll repeat. So do your 6 single crochet in each here. So 3, 4, 5, and 6. And increase. And you'll just keep repeating that all the way to the end. I'll meet you guys once I reach that end. Just finished that row. And we can snip our end again. Give ourselves about 3 inches, give or take. And you should have ended again on an increase. I didn't finish my increase because that will be where I will attach my next color. And your stitch count for this row should be 32. We're on our last color now, and I'm using red. And slide it on. Tighten all your ends. Do your chain 1 and turn. We got our last repeat, so you're going to single crochet in the next 7 stitches. So it's 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now you're going to increase, and that's your repeat. So single crochet in the next 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And increase. And just keep doing that repeat. So we'll do that all the way to the end, and then I will meet you there with the stitch count. Just finished my red. I did end on an increase, and this time I did finish that last increase because I'm not going to be adding another color, and I will be fastening this off, so you can complete that last one. And you can also snip off your things, but your stitch count for that final row should be 36. So snip your ends, giving yourself 3 inches like we've been doing. That'll help just secure everything. All right, and then I'm just going to pull this all the way through. This is that final stitch. This is the loop, so it'll secure. And that way we won't lose it. And if you have any loose end, just kind of give them a tug. So that's our rainbow. That'll be what we'll put on top of our pot of gold. So now we'll just set this aside and we'll get to making that pot of gold. You'll want to have your eye hook for this. All right, for your pot of gold, you're going to want to go and see Abby's pattern linked below. Follow her rounds 1 through 10. So when you guys have done that, I will work on mine as well, and then I will show you the modifications to make it so that it should fit your rainbow. All right, so I have been following Abby's pattern all the way to round 10. So make sure that we're all on the same page, that you should have just done your single crochet, so you should have a stitch count of 48. So now what you're going to do, move my stitch marker there. So now you're going to single crochet in the next 7. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then you'll repeat, and then you'll increase, and then you'll repeat that. Single crochet 7 and then increase. Single crochet 7 and then increase. You'll do that all the way around until you get back to the beginning. So I'll do mine and then I'll tell you what the stitch count should be. I just finished up my round and I ended on an increase. You should have a stitch count of 54. So now what we're going to do, move your stitch marker up. So now for rounds 12 through 14, you will single crochet. So no increasing, no decreasing, and you should keep having a stitch count of 54. So do your rounds here, and I will meet you at the end of round 14. All right, I just did my 14th round. So I like to leave my stitch marker when I'm doing single crochets like this where it is, so that I can keep track of which one I'm on. It just works best for me. So now we're going to do round 15. This is where our decreasing is going to happen. Now, don't be alarmed, because mine is a lot on the bigger side right here. Yours might look a lot smaller than this. I think it has to do with the thicker yarn that I'm using. So as long as your stitch count is correct, don't worry about how big mine is looking. My stuff always ends up a lot bigger. So for round 15, you're going to single crochet in the next 7 stitches. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now you're going to do a decrease. So to do a decrease, you'll just act like you're going to single crochet, but instead of yarning over, you're going into the next stitch, grabbing and pulling through. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook. So you yarn over and pull through those 2. And so now we'll do the 7 single crochet again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then you'll do your decrease. So insert, grab your yarn, pull through, insert into the next stitch, insert into the next stitch, grab your yarn and pull through 3 loops. So pull yarn over and pull through all 3. So just keep doing that repeat of single crochet 7, decrease, single crochet 7, decrease, all the way around. And by the end, you should end on a decrease, and you should have 48 stitches for your stitch count. All right, so I'm done with round 15. So now we're going to do round 16. The repeat for this one, will be you will single crochet in the next 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then you'll do your decrease in the next 2. And then you'll repeat that. So single crochet in the next 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then decrease. So you'll repeat that all the way around, ending on a decrease. And your stitch count should be 42. So I'll meet you guys when I'm done. All right, I just finished my round 16, ending on a decrease. So for round 17, the repeat is you will single crochet in the next 5. So it's 5 and decrease. So repeat that, single crochet in the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then decrease in the next one. And you'll just repeat that all the way around, and then you should have a stitch count of 36 and end on a decrease. All right, just finished doing round 17. So for round 18, you are going to just single crochet all the way around. No increasing or no decreasing, keeping your stitch count the same. So you should still have 36 stitches by the end of this round. So just work through all your stitches doing single crochets. I'll meet you at the end when I'm done. Just finished round 18. We're starting to get quite the form now. So for round 19, this one will be a little different. So you're going to still single crochet, but you're only going to do it through the front loop only. So when you got your V's, you want to do it through the one that's closest to you. It's kind of hard to show it with this black yarn. So if you're having issues with the front loops only, go ahead and check out my tutorial on front loops only with a colored yarn, and just kind of help you kind of better see which stitch you're supposed to be working in. It's a little trickier with showing it with the black yarn. So work through the front loop of each stitch and single crochet all the way around. You're not increasing or decreasing, so your stitch count should still stay the same at 36. So I'm going to get these all done, and I'll meet you when I'm done with this round. Just got done doing my front loops only, so you should see on the inside all the way around your back loop that you missed. So that's when you know you did it right. And for round 20, we are going to do another repeat. So you're going to do 5 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you're going to increase. That's your repeat. So single crochet 5, so 2, 3, 4, and 5, and increase. So keep doing that all the way around. You should end on an increase, and your stitch count should now be 42. Meet you guys when I'm done. Just finished doing round 20. Should have kind of created this little ridge for your pot of gold now. So now our last round, round 21, you will just single crochet all the way around. So that'll keep your stitch count the same at 42. So do that all the way around. All right, just finished that last round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and create a very clean a way to kind of end off and bind off or fasten off, whatever you want to call it. So what I like to do when I'm trying to work in the round like this and I want to kind of make it clean is I'm going to do a slip stitch like that. And I won't leave a tail because I won't leave a very long tail because I don't really need to tie anything together. So I'm just going to give a little bit here. And this will get woven in. And I'll clean it up and such and make it so you can't see it. I won't need this stitch marker. So now is a great time to start stuffing. Don't stuff it extreme, like don't have it coming like bulging way up here because we do need to add our pot of gold and all that, and you don't want to be doing that where it's so full because when you start doing your stitches and stuff, it'll pull everything as you're crocheting. So just do a little bit. I'd say just enough to where it comes up where this little area is right here. So I can show you as I'm doing this and stuffing it. So I'm just kind of, and this will be all about how squishy you want your pot of gold to be or not. I kind of try to stuff everything as much as I can without bursting the seams. And by bursting the seams is where you're pushing so much that you're seeing your stuffing through the seams. You know, pull them open way too much. I'm just kind of giving it a good feel because as we're crocheting our pot or our gold portion, before we completely close it off, you can still stuff it. But I try to do as much as I can before I get to that point because once you kind of like start adding something or sewing something or you have a smaller hole, it's a lot harder to stuff the rest of something. So I try to do it while it's pretty open right now. So mine's still pretty squishy, but that's fine. Like I said, I can always add more as we're doing it, and I don't want to do it right now while it could bulge. So kind of looks like a cauldron brewing. All right, so now you're gonna want to grab your yellow yarn or whatever yarn color you're wanting to use your gold for, and you're going to attach it in that back loop row. So where you had your back loops. So I'm going to find where my rows end up here because that's where it is. So I'm going to want to attach that back loop, or yeah, the back loop got missed where we didn't go into it and it's still there. So I'm going to attach my yarn on my hook and pull it through. And I usually like to do a slip knot or a slip stitch to kind of secure it in place like that. So now what you're going to do is you're going to single crochet in each one of those back loops right here that's left all the way around till you meet the beginning. And you should have 36. So just ease your way in. If it's too much with the stuffing or you have too much stuffing that's in the way, you can kind of pull some out, do your thing, and then add it back because we're just kind of creating our foundation of the gold, so it'll be a lot easier to see what you're doing. So if it's a little trickier because you got all this stuffing, you can take some out. So I'm just going to be working my single crochets all the way around, and then I'll meet you guys when I'm done at the end. All right, just finished going all the way around. I did have to take my stuffing out just so it made it a little easier for me. So if you need your stitch marker, this is still a good time to start using it. Just as you're using the yellow, it can be kind of tricky as you go to see where your beginning and end might be. Right now it was kind of easy with the color change, so I didn't. Stitch marker here and add it just so I can see where I'm doing things. So now what you're going to do is we got our repeats again. So you want your first stitch. So you're going to do 4 single crochets. Go along here. So it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then you're going to do a decrease. And that's your repeat. So 4 single crochet. 3 and 4. And then you decrease. So keep repeating that all the way around. Should end on a decrease, and your stitch count should be 30. So I'll meet you guys when I'm done. All right, just finished that round. So this is considered our second round because I'm restarting from that. So we're on a second round. So now we're going to do our round 3. So I like to move my stitch marker so I can just see it a little better. So we got another repeat. So you'll do 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. And then you'll do a decrease. That's your repeat. So 3 single crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Then you do your decrease. So keep doing that all the way around till you reach the beginning. I'll meet you guys at the end. Your stitch count should be 24. All right, just got done doing that third round. So now we're going to do round 4. Again, another repeat. So this time we're going to do 2 single crochets. 1, 2, and then decrease. Repeat, so single crochet 1, single crochet 2, and decrease. So keep doing that all the way around, and then you should have a stitch count of 18 when you're done. All right, I just got done doing that 4th round. Now we're on our very last round. So this is where you start maybe getting an idea before you start working on this next round, because our hole is getting a little smaller. This is a good chance to kind of figure out, okay, how full do I want this to be and how squishy do I want it to be. So start stuffing it just a little bit more. I do this donut effect where you kind of push everything towards the outside and fill it on the inside. I find that keeps it kind of more stiffer if it needs to be. Just keep doing where you feel pretty confident with it and where you're liking it. I'm about there with mine. Kind of filling in those gaps because that's what makes it squishy. So if you really don't want it to be super squishy, try to fill in where you feel that it's a little loose, because that's going to affect everything. Maybe one more little go here. You'll still have, because there'll still be a little bit of a hole before we officially close it. So if you're at a point where you're still not sure, but you're mostly there, you'll be good. All right, for this last row, row 5. So I got my stitch marker here. Get it all lined up. You're going to single crochet. And then you're going to decrease. And And that's your repeat. Single crochet, decrease all the way around. Your stitch count should be 12 when you get to the end. And then I'll show you the final step of closing this up. All right, just finished that last row of row 5. So now, make sure I'll pull this up just a little bit here. So just figure out if this is where you want it. Got fluff on everything. You gotta love polyfill on black, you'll see it. So if you're happy with, you know, kind of the level of things, you can kind of do a little bit more, but you don't want to pull your stitches any more than what I've already got kind of going on here. So I think mine's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my little slip stitch like I do. I like to just take the hook and put it in the next stitch and pull through to do kind of a slip stitch. And I'm going to leave myself a decent tail here. You know, it's not super duper long, maybe 12 inches. I'm going to pull this up so I can pull this all the way out because we created that knot, so it should hold it. So the way I like to close something like this without keep pulling, because some people will have you just pull and pull and pull, but I don't like doing that because it's going to pull my stitches and it won't look very nice. So what I like to do when it gets to a point like this is I like to thread my sewing needle, and I like to kind of do like a drawstring close. So what I do is I'll take, because these are our stitches, it's kind of hard to see them because they're kind of being pulled in, but I'm just kind of grabbing the top loop that's on this end, so the top ones that are sticking straight up, just kind of going into them like that. And I'm going to do that all the way into each one, kind of gathering that loop all the way around. So it's not both of them, it's just the one that's sticking on the top. Just go all the way around. Try not to catch those other stitches too. You'll kind of tell when you're at the beginning because you'll start seeing them. So just go as much as you can. So I think right here is a good spot to end it because I'm starting to see them there. And so now, this is where you'll just kind of do your little close. Just pull it like that. And you got some areas that don't look so hot. This is where I usually will come in and do little fixes to help kind of bring them back together so it looks a little nicer. Hopefully your rainbow will cover a lot of these imperfections, so you don't have to worry too much about it all. Just kind of weaving this through. Sometimes I'll patch up, but I'm not super worried about this since it is going to get pretty covered by the rainbow. It won't be the main focus. You'll just see the yellow. So I'm just kind of weaving this in through, just so it's a little more secure in places and it won't come undone. And a lot of times I'll just kind of bring it all the way over here. And that's where I'll snip it. Because then I know it's through all that polyfill, and the likelihood of it coming loose is going to be pretty slim. Now, since we already are getting kind of into the sewing, I'll show you guys how to kind of weave in this end real quick. So I'll attach that. So this is kind of where you see it's kind of uneven. So I'll kind of go, because this is the one that's in, I'll go in the next stitch. Just kind of go back to where it stuck up, that row. And it kind of brings it together. Sometimes I'll do that a couple times just so it's a little more secure. And then this is where I'll find somewhere where there's a bunch of those single crochets. Just kind of tuck it under those. Really good. And I like to go back and forth a couple times just in case it's played with or tugged. It does not come undone. So you do it at least 3 times. So that was 1. This is going to be 2. And this will be 3. And that will not go anywhere on us. See? You can always test when you're tugging. And then you'll snip your end. And then next we'll get to assembling our rainbow on top, which will be just us sewing all the little ends on in place. Now to attach our rainbow, I like to thread. It doesn't really matter which color you start with or which side. I probably would start with like maybe the inside or the outside and then work your way across on one side and then do the same thing on the other side. So figure out kind of how you want to place, you know, your pot of gold, or your rainbow and your pot of gold. Just kind of have it set up where it kind of has where you want it to line up. It's kind of hard to show you guys at an upper angle right there. So I'm probably going to start on this end and then just work my way across. So to do that, you'll want to thread your first thread and line it up where you want it. And I'm just going to be attaching it and then sewing through the rainbow and then attaching it to this, just to kind of get it secure. And I'll do that a couple times. So find out where you want to add it. Like that. So I went through the bottom there, and then I'm going through the rainbow portion now. I'll do that, do the same stitch again a couple times, just so it kind of creates that sturdiness. And then I'll weave this through like way in, so it won't come undone. I might even create a knot or something, I haven't quite decided. Typically weaving it through, like I'm doing here, where I'm just kind of pushing it way through all the stuffing, kind of creates its own little knot. I feel like you have to kind of really tug. So I'll do that for each color, where I'll thread it, find the stitch that's close, go into where the gold is, come up and go through the color, and then go back in through the gold part, come back through the color, and then pull it all the way through. I'm just going to do that for each one. So I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to sit here and show you guys every single one, but I'll show you one more time with the orange in case you're a little unsure. So that's where my red one is. So I'm trying to keep this, and if you want to pin it to hold it in place so that you know, or even safety pins, because I'm not a huge fan of just using like a pin like this and pinning it in place. So if you want to like safety pin it so you kind of know where your stitches are supposed to be and where they're all supposed to line up, you can do that. I'm pretty good with just going freehanding it. So this is the next stitch. So that's where I did my red one, so I'm going to kind of go right next to that one to do my orange, coming up through there, going through the color. Doing that my second time. Going back in, but this time I'm going to go all the way through the stuffing like that, put it through the back. I'll do that for each color, so do that for each color, and we'll get this all finished. All right, now we have our pot of gold with the rainbow all assembled. If you're not loving how flimsy this is, you could make the rainbow twice and sew it together to create, and even stuff it if you wanted to, and it would be a lot more sturdier. But this is just to kind of keep it simple. You guys can always tweak and change things about this. You might have this issue that I'm having a little bit, where throughout it you can kind of see the white stuffing poking through. You could go with a much smaller hook size. Not all yarn is the same, so it can vary between what kind of yarn you're using and the hook size. So a smaller hook size could work much better as well if you're having kind of this gaping going on. I'm not too worried about it because from far away, sorry, out of frame. From far away, you won't see a lot of this, and it's more of preference. But hopefully this tutorial was helpful and that you guys were able to make your own pot of golds with rainbows. Maybe you decided to do something different, or maybe you can take this pattern or take this tutorial and be able to make something different. Drop it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear maybe other suggestions or other projects that you might be doing that go along with this tutorial. If you guys are wanting to have other videos or content, drop it in the comments down below. I always love hearing from all those that are watching. And what other projects are you guys working on? Drop them down. I'd like to hear what you're working on. Are you working on blankets? Are you working on St. Patrick's Day items? Are you working on something to gift to somebody? I want to hear about it. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you hit that like button because that helps my videos and helps other people that may also enjoy this content find it because it pushes it out there in the algorithm. And also, if you haven't done so already and you really enjoy my content and where I'm going with things, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon next to it because then you can be notified every time I post videos like this. And as always, happy crafting and keep creating beautiful things. Until next time, everybody, bye!